Hey, Mayor. Just comes out.
Same thing. It's the same thing.
So I'm trying to go outside.
It says it's a sweet day, not happening, so I don't
You know
know.
what my daughter tells me? She goes, Mom, don't do it until everybody closes out. I don't know if it's true or not. I said, wait, you won't take care of me? But it works for me.
Diane, have you seen her name?
She's my mom.
You see the thumb drive on the side?
I knew him. He said this. Junior senior.
Look at
She talks to you and she changes on Sunday. She was the fifth.
Alright, here it goes. Okay. No, be quiet. Oh, we're gonna remind you after this.
Look at you. Is there anything wrong?
You guys ready?
I don't know what it looks like from the other side when you're on Zoom. We're all
Good evening, good snowy evening. Today is Tuesday, March 4th, and the time is 6 p.m. And this is a regular meeting for the City Council of the City of Trinidad. Will you all please rise for
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is roll call.
DeBona?
Here.
Shu?
Here.
Thurman?
Here.
Trahell?
Here.
Ogletree? Here. Williamson?
Here.
Griego?
Here. Item number 2, approval of the agenda. Does anybody have corrections to the agenda? There being none, I need a motion.
So moved.
Frank Shu moved. Is there- And Aaron Ogletree seconded. Call the vote, please.
DeBona?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trahell?
Yes.
Ogletree? Yes. Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Item 3A, the joint concept review with Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission of proposed major impact application for a major subdivision and rezone of Rancho Duran. And I would like the members of the Planning Commission that are here to introduce yourselves, please, before we start.
Okay, John Norris.
John Norris.
Danielle Bolo.
Frank Leone, Chair.
Joe Rito.
Alrighty, thank you. And I guess Mr. Mason is the presenter tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Planning Commission. We have an application from Duran Ventures. It's requesting a major impact review for a major subdivision and rezone. Just a reminder, because we're going to have two of them today. Concept review is just the first step to introduce the project, provide high-level overview of the proposed project, and all comments made by council, by commission are non-binding and informal. So the application is for a subdivision rezone. This will affect the entire 178.4 acres of Rancho Duran. The property, kind of we talked about in the past, the Country Club Ranch filing 2, phases 1, 2, 3, and 4. However, this development will be in phases. So we had a similar concept review in October. This is going to be kind of similar, but the developer decided to scale down their first phase. So that's what we're bringing back to planning, or bringing back to council and planning commission. Since about so that this phase, this first phase of this application is going to be 5.3 acres. It's going to be subdivided into 4 lots with the residential estate zoning and 2 tracts of public land dedication. The residential estate lots are for market rate housing and have connections to city water, gas, and power. The city's working with the applicant on finalizing these utility extensions and some planning. Part of this may include a quitclaim. The platted Morris Canyon right-of-way. It differs from the existing road, so what's been platted in the past, what's been deeded is actually different than what's actually out there, so we're going to have to try to work that through in this process as well. So we'll be looking at doing a quitclaim to the developer to try to make sure we get that squared away. The balance of the subdivision, other than the phase 1, will be rezoned to some city zoning districts, including community commercial, high-density residential, medium-density residential, and residential estate. And there is plans to submit a full PUD with some similar zoning uses as the property moves forward. That's the whole 178 acres. Currently, the zoning on the property is PUD. A planning commission special meeting on October 22nd, 2024. The planning commission actually deemed that PUD obsolete, so there needs to be a rezone for this entire property. The next step is for the project to go to the public hearing with planning commission. I think we have some representatives from Grand Ventures here as well. If you have any questions for me?
It's, the information we got electronically is really hard to read.
I know.
Can we go through that? Is there a better way we can look at those?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe the applicant could probably walk through there.
Okay.
They'll probably
please.
have a better feeling on that. You can probably see a little better understanding. So.
I'd like to know the difference between the original plan and what the adjusted plan is too as well. Is that okay with council?
Yes.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is John Olson. I'm the planner for Rancho Duran, and we were here before. So let me introduce real quick some members of the development team that are here. You have Ray. Where's Ray? There's Ray. Ray and Brett, Jason, and Mike. Mike DeGrant. I think you all know Ray, Brett, and Jason. And as you had requested, so we've got a presentation here. Is it a little quicker or?
No, I think I'm gonna attempt to do this.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Oh, you wanna do it?
Okay, so there's a few answers to your question. So there's the original, right? And then there's what we brought to you all in October and September and October. So the existing property is the old country club, if you want to go to that next one, which had the PUD in place in 2006. The property was intended as a, is there like a full screen button maybe, or no? I do have some printouts, if that's helpful too, of this. So I don't know if I have enough for
We can share.
everybody, so maybe just go every 2. Does that sound good?
if you can.
Okay. Yeah, I probably have my phone. Yeah. Thanks, sir.
Okay, this is.
Let me go over here, then I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Actually, I do have
This
one.
PDF, you know, right.
Yeah, the slideshow, I'm afraid the fonts.
Oh,
Because the
okay.
last time the fonts came all wonky
Yeah,
in here,
okay.
so. Trying to learn some lessons from the past, I guess, right? Let's see here, and I have one more. Yeah? Okay, so originally, back in 2006, it was designed as a golf course community with a mix of some multifamily townhomes, obviously the golf course, ancillary commercial uses that go along with the golf course, and it was for this entire area. What you see on the plan there, really what has been developed from that is the school, right? And then, let's see here, and then there might be a few other scattered lots.
Jeez.
Braver than I am.
Is there one or two?
Previously, when we came in September and October, and I'll just kind of keep talking through as the screens there, we were showing along Moores Canyon Road, 11 lots, if you recall. And, oh, thank you. I'm afraid you, yeah. I'm gonna put that
Right
down.
here. There we go.
So we had 11 lots along Moores Canyon Road. In that time, as we were getting prepared to go to City Council, to you all, we kind of went through a little bit more of the infrastructure costs of that. And it was going to be pretty cost prohibitive to provide these 11 lots. Accompanied by that, some of the discussion that we had with Planning Commission was the real desire for the future of having some of these more attainable products in housing. So we thought about that a little bit more, and we kind of went back to the table of, okay, it's really the eastern lots that are very difficult infrastructure-wise and costly. So as we kind of dove into that deeper, it was really the sewer that was going to cost a lot of money. So what we have provided and what we're illustrating are 4, as phase 1, just 4 1-acre plus lots, and those would be on septic. And that's kind of the way to go and be able to make that get there. In the future, there we go, thank you, Michael. So you can see on there, there's, and I'll just go from left to right in the yellow. We have a lot 1, then there's a little tract. In that tract that we wanted to keep was really kind of, it's this great kind of outcropping that's along the Moores Canyon that we wanted to preserve. It's a beautiful piece of land, so we wanted to kind of keep that one out of the lot. So we put that one into a tract. And then we have lot 2, lot 3, and then tract B is shown, which is kind of extending off of Garcia, which was thought to be a pedestrian connection to the future Rancho Duran. And then lot 4, of course, is the last one on the far east. With this, as Nick had mentioned earlier, if you want to go just up to the next one, because the PUD overall was deemed obsolete from 2006, we have to provide some kind of zoning for the rest of it. So most of what you see on there you all saw when we presented to you the last time. The only piece that's different is, and I'm just going to walk over here and point, and then I'll come back to the mic. It's this piece right up here. And that's where Moores Canyon turns into Moores Canyon, right? So that piece of it we've put as an MDR, which is consistent to the old Country Club one, which gets some more of that attainable product in the future. So that's kind of the thought process where we're at right now. So the application, again, is for these 4 lots, and then to go and provide some sort of type of zoning for the rest of the property. Now with that, Ray, did you have anything that you wanted to say with this? Sorry to put you on the spot. Or not. I mean, we can answer questions and answers too, so.
Okay. Aaron?
All I was gonna say is that, you know, we're doing this as that's why we named our company Duran Ventures, because this has been a total venture or adventure from the minute we decided to do this. One thing that I would like to say is that I really appreciate the amount of cooperation that we've received from the city staff and from the department heads. They've talked to us well, we've explained a few things to them, and they've been very appreciative of us trying to give them as much or be as transparent as possible, because, you know, this is something that would be good, I believe, for the city of Trinidad for years and years and years to come. And like we were talking before we came in here, I realize that this isn't going to be something that this entire project is built out within the next 2 or 3 years. This is going to be a decade or 2 decades going into the future. So, you know, we don't want to overstep what we're capable of being able to do. We want to make certain that, you know, we're working along, and we're also very good neighbors with the city of Trinidad, because, you know, I was born and raised here, and I want to see Trinidad prosper going forward. So other than all these drawings, you know, John and Mike and Jason and Brett, they sit there and they go back and forth, and then I'm the guy that kind of hits the beehive with the stick, and then I walk out and let them deal with the bees. So, you know, I appreciate all the work that they're doing, and you know, it's been a process. I had the opportunity, as you all know, a little over 1.5 years ago, once I sold my stores, that I could have just retired and went and sat on the porch and sat in a rocking chair and watched the sun go down. The only concern I had at that time was I told my wife, make sure you bring me in at night, because, you know, there's a lot of typhoons up there by where I live. So anyway, I just wanted everybody, I appreciate all your thought and all your time and effort that you're trying to work along with us on our project, and hopefully one of these days, looking down the road, we'll all have something that we can be proud of. That's all I got. And do you have any questions? I'll try to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Duran. I know we all appreciate that you are investing your future with Trinidad as well as your past, and I'm glad you're doing this. I just had a few things. What is market rate housing? What does that mean?
Is that on our packet, or is that on? Okay, so market rate wouldn't be, market rate is really what it says. It's definitely not going to be, the market rate piece is not a CHAFA or any kind of federal grant program that goes into it. It would be what the market would bear. And so these 4 lots in particular would definitely fall under that category.
So they'd be single family is what you're anticipating?
Yeah.
Okay. And they are going to face Fisher Peak Elementary, as far as I can tell on the map?
That's correct.
Is the long-range thought that you're going to try to work in some townhomes in this, like the original idea was, or is that somewhere down the road?
That is the thought and the plan with, well, Eagle Rock, which is not on here, and that's another application in the future that we'd like to have, but also that MDR piece over here that was originally that market rate larger size lot, single family. The bigger picture would be, in the future, how do we look at that as getting that townhome or patio home? I think Nick and and Michael had referenced, hey, patio homes might be really good here. That might be a good market piece. So we've looked at that and explored that as an option. They're developing a home under construction just to the north of Moore's Canyon and Peak right now. And that home is also kind of hitting some of those attainable markets, right? It's a nice 3-bedroom, new single-family home, but nothing really super large.
It's encouraging to have new construction going on in Trinidad. But I do hope, and Ms. Rollo, I'm sure can comment on whether or not there's demand for patio homes or townhomes, but people ask me about that because there really is not an option like that in Trinidad, and hopefully we get some. That's all right.
Eli, do you have any questions?
No, just thank you, Ray, you and your team for the investment in your hometown. Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions, but Frank, you have?
Are these homes, are they any of them gonna be double story?
On these 4 lots we're talking about? I don't know because we have no plans for what we're gonna construct there. Right now, we're just trying to get the lots in place. I'm thinking that they might be single level. I would,
Yeah, they lend themselves really well to having a walkout basement. So from the
on the
south
south
side,
side,
they certainly, I think, will have 2 stories. I think that would make sense. And on the north side, it's really a TBD, see what the market bears and wants. But I would guess because it's an acre, you're probably looking at a ranch with a walkout basement.
So would you have a mix in that 4 lots? Would you have some that were 2 stories and some that were single, or?
Probably really depends on really what the buyer and the lot purchaser would like. You know, somebody might want a 2-story with a walkout, right? Or a really
Right.
large home.
That's right.
And others might just want, you know,
I
like
would-
myself,
I
I'm
would
building
think-
a simple little cute 2,400 square foot with a walkout basement, right? I mean, but I'm a different person. I don't need a big 6,000.
I would think that the view that a person would have is, as you're on Moore's Canyon in front of the school, it's probably gonna look like a single story.
Right.
But then once you get to the back side of the house, then you're gonna see where it's a walkout. And that one area, I think it was tract A, has these beautiful rock formations. And I told John and my team, I said, you know what? I don't want to see anybody come up here and bulldoze all of that out of here. This is beautiful. I said, we gotta try to preserve that. So,
Which I just have to go and add in here. You know, I work with a lot of developers across the Front Range, and as a landscape architect, to have a client come to me and say that's just beautiful. to want to go and see this great piece of land and say, this piece of land is so beautiful, we can't put this on a lot. This has got to be a tract. So you guys are very blessed to have the Durans here.
Thank you.
we try. Is that it?
Nope. Okay, stay there.
I don't have anything. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Could you just give me a quick synopsis of the plumbing situation? You were saying that you didn't want the plumbing to be going to all the residents. Some of them are going to have a septic tank. Is that what's...
So those 4 houses, I'll give you the layman's perception, okay? To try to put a sewer line from the eastern lot and have it go all the way around and coming around by the school is just cost prohibitive.
Okay.
You know, it just wasn't good. So at the end of Moore's Canyon Road, that's where my house is. And I live kind of in a hole. That's a septic system.
Okay.
As you come west on Moore's Canyon, there's L.J. Osela's house. He's on septic. And the new house that they built across the street from him, he's on septic because they're all laying, you know, lower than Desperado Drive. That's the nearest. And then as you go further down, and there's just so much area you have to cover only to serve 4 homes. Cost prohibitive.
Mr. Grant and your team, thank you so much for the investment. And I think it does really speak for you guys to conserve the beauty of the area like that. That's really nice. Thank you for that too. I did have a question for Mr. Mason or Michael potentially. I was surprised, and you did a good job of mentioning other instances of it, Mr. Adams. In city development and planning, is it fairly often that the septic will be used to bridge the gap until sewer is installed? Is that fairly common?
Can I just clarify real quick, for these 4 lots, it's not bridging a gap, those would be on septic.
No, I understand that, but I mean, ideally, you would have sewer, right? I mean, because you're building into communities, you're building into a future problem potentially, so I'm just wondering how often that occurs.
Sure. So to do septics on these, you'll have to go through CDPHE and do engineered septic systems. And so that is very expensive.
Yeah, that's an expense itself.
Yeah, it's going to be an expense in itself. So there are now under the state law, there are higher standards to do this type of development off of it. The standard that is typically applied is if you're within 400 feet of a sewer main, then you would connect. But these properties, these 4 lots, are outside of that 400.
So if you lay outside of that outer reach, then it is fairly standard to install an engineered septic system.
Yeah. So the city has the power to compel a developer to connect, but you also have the ability to look at the fiscal considerations and the geography, as Mr. Duran was talking, in your decision making. If you're within that 400 feet, it's a lot more stringent of a requirement. If you're outside, which these 4 lots are, then the discretion becomes more. There's a lot more discretion. However, that said, then any of those septic systems have to go through a formal review for that permit, and they're engineered, so they're pretty expensive septic systems.
Right, no, absolutely. Yeah. I have no further questions, and thank you for the investment.
Thank you. Does the planning commission have any questions?
So I do have one real quick thing that I want to make sure we get across. So it's not shown on here, but Morris Canyon currently is platted like this through several of his lots, so it's not currently, sorry, it's not current. I just don't want I don't want the public to be like, why is the city needing back a road when this comes before you? So the actual platted road goes through basically lots 2 and 3. So the road wasn't constructed where the original developer platted it. So what's going to happen, we're working through title and survey right now. That's part of the due diligence that we're working on with the applicant. But what's most likely going to occur is you'll see an ordinance when all of this comes forward that will be cleaning up and reclaiming, deeding that right of way back to those lots, and then them dedicating the actual right of way where Morris Canyon is. I just want to make sure that that's out here in the public, because certainly someone picks up the newspaper and is like, Duran is picking up a street for free. What's going on? So I just want to make sure that that's crystal clear, because I know that could have some political fuzz if you were talking to somebody at Safeway about why that's
dark
happening.
area. That dark area is the paved street as it sits now.
Yeah, so currently the street was constructed in front of the school like this, and it was deeded, like there's a big U where it drops in on this bench here. And the biggest issue we have is that fact that you have utilities in there, and so clearly we want to ensure that the actual deeded right of way is in the correct spot, so that if you guys are ever out there digging, you're not on Mr. Duran's property, and Mr. Duran isn't building houses on what was previously a street. So we'll be cleaning that up, but I just want to make sure you'll see. And most likely the solution is going to be an ordinance where we have to quit claim the original back. And I just don't want that to become confusing to the public or whatever, so.
So will the new road,
Oh, yeah, it's there, it's in here.
Yeah, and I'll kind of help clarify, because I think I understand your question. I think I understand your question, which is, the road itself is not to be changed. The road itself is not where the right-of-way is dedicated. Currently, the right-of-way is dedicated in the wrong spot, or the road was built in the wrong spot, one way or the other, but we're not gonna go and realign the road. We're just gonna fix the error.
So there'll be it's a plating exercise. Sorry, I know better than that. It's a plating exercise, so that's just, I just want to make sure that you aren't surprised when you see a quick claim deed where it is on that. So, thank you.
Mr. Duran never picks projects that are easy.
You're telling me. Well, is that it?
That's it.
Mr. Norris had a question.
Yes.
Will there be any sidewalks or accommodations for pedestrian traffic in the first floor? Because I'd like to lobby that when you get to the 178, that you are sure to include a trail, but is there going to be, for the first floor, are there any sidewalks or pedestrian access?
So what we are showing on there is, I think it's tract B, it's the more rectangular tract.
Okay.
And that's going to be dedicated for a tract with a future, once phase 2 is developed, pedestrian connection to the school.
Okay.
Beyond that, well, we haven't gotten into engineering drawings on this yet or anything, so it wasn't anticipated for those 4 lots to have sidewalks, right? Because they're 4 kind of large 1-acre lots with roadside ditches and things like that.
Okay.
But we haven't really gotten there.
Because there's no place to walk out there. You're going to drive, if you're going to drive from there, you have to drive 2 miles back to, to a trail in town. And so it is, pedestrian access is really nice, and it's nice to be localized.
Yeah.
So I understand that in front of the homes on the 4 lots, there won't be because that's not necessary. So you're asking about just the trail side?
Well, I'm pointing that out because Trinidad sidewalks are notorious for adventure biking or adventure walking. I mean, they go, they stop, they start, they go, and it's better to have even something that stops and starts than to have nothing, because, I mean, the people that are moving in out here, I mean, we need to move more, we need to walk more, and so if we can incorporate that into our developments, that helps.
Yeah, and in the future phases, it certainly is a major consideration. We want this to be very pedestrian friendly and have that high connectivity, especially with the school that's there. For these 4 lots, we really, I don't even think we've discussed it yet, have we, Nick?
Well, residential estate doesn't require sidewalk.
Right. So the thought was to try to keep them with a little bit more of a rural character with the roadside ditches.
Like the reserve at Fisher's Peak or Union Terrace, they don't have sidewalks either. On the one
But, I mean, and kids are gonna be going along here, and the sidewalks are a good place to put kids that are trying to get to school, so. We'll figure it out.
I appreciate your question.
Okay.
I got just a question for you. We did, and Ray was part of that, we did all that new sirloin. So actually, what do we put that in there for if they're going to septics?
So the other subdivision, the Eagle Rock subdivision, sorry.
Yeah.
You're used to
The Eagle Rock subdivision, which is, which was part of the, actually, you can see it on the original plan.
If you can come to the microphone, that'd be great.
Really?
So
I'll help you out. Thanks.
all of this would not be able to, it would hit capacity. So by, oh, see, you touched it.
I touched it.
The Eagle, the stuff that's up on that Eagle Rock would not have had, we wouldn't have capacity for that subdivision. So,
But they're not developing any of that.
well, that is a future phase, yes. So when it comes in, now there's capacity in the main to serve it.
It's not a part of this zoning, though.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Without that sewer main relocate, none of this would be able to be built.
And that sewer line extension wouldn't be able to serve those 4 lots that we're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I was asking, because I know they were coming down that back side of the road.
Yeah.
And water is not an issue with those 4 additions?
No, we're
For
in
those 4 tracks?
discussion with city on how we're gonna do the water.
Yeah, Mark doesn't have any worries about capacity or nothing right now, so.
No.
Yeah, the only, they're tying in off of Moore's Canyon right now, and I think we're gonna put a T or cross at the intersection here between Track B and Garcia, and tie in Garcia as well. I think that's water and gas both tied in there on a 6-inch, just to get some circulation.
Right.
Yeah.
And I noticed you're putting power, underground power above there.
Yeah,
And that's not going down to that, is it?
underground power.
I mean,
I
if
think
it's
we
up
have-
there.
You currently have power here or here, it might even be already be across, I think it's across the street.
They have some kind of culvert
Yeah, but-
already under the
Yeah, so,
pavement
yeah,
for
the,
electricity.
yeah, so, maybe they have the conduits there. So they'll be tied in from this way, and then anything further would be tied in across from, coming from Peak and Morris.
I think Mr. Lincoln has a question.
Mike, what have you ever thought about a lift station?
You guys, Johnny, want to talk about that? It's not really, it's,
So the question, and this is for the sanitary sewer piece of
For
it.
the 4 lots?
Yeah, so the real complication with having sanitary sewer in those is kind of goes back to the product type of the ranch with the walkout basement. That walkout basement puts the sewer needs, right, another floor down. And to go and make a connection for sewer, we would need to connect up closer to Peak and Morris Canyon. Not quite, but close. And there'd be a major disruption to the road, and it'd be very cost prohibitive to do that.
I'm just
And to
wondering.
dig that all the way out for
Because
sewer.
your septics are expensive now.
Yeah.
They've changed in the last 5 or 6 years.
They're costly, and it'll be interesting to see the cost difference of that versus extending the sewer. But we did run the numbers on the sewer from that Eastern Point Lot 4 up there, and it's a very substantial number, especially for 4 lots. Even for 11 lots, it was a very substantial number.
Is that all on account of the walkout basements?
Yeah, and to the point that it would make those homes, and just the lot sale on those, to a point that is very, very cost prohibitive for a lot of people to purchase. And which makes the velocity of the sales, and it slows everything down to do that. So this was a creative solution and a thought to bring this to a more affordable way of getting it started.
Anybody else?
Like the mayor said, we never pick anything easy.
You're the man.
So I'm good now?
Thank you
I
again.
think so. No, but we're done with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item 3B, joint concept review with Planning, Zoning, and Variance Commission of proposed major impact application for an annexation and rezone for Maverick North. I know. We don't have that file on.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's right here.
It's part of,
It's right here.
It might be in the back.
yeah, because it's also an item on the agenda.
Oh,
It's right here.
got it.
Yeah.
9C.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Got it.
So, Matt Reeder, on behalf of Maverick Inc., I think he's online, as well as Greg. He's the engineer, he's the engineer for Maverick. They submitted an annexation petition to the city clerk on February 18th, seeking annexation of 18.81 acres located on the north end of the city at exit 18. If you've been up there, you could see it's being built. So the annexation is a major impact review application, so it's a concept review first, as well as referral to city council, and then you can see item 9C as well. So in May of 2024, city council approved a pre-annexation agreement with Maverick. So last year we did that, we did pre-annexation. In that agreement, the city committed to serving the development with water, gas, and sewer. Power is supplied by San Isabel out there. And as part of the agreement, Maverick committed to petitioning for annexation when eligible. So they've since became eligible and they submitted the application or the petition for annexation. In the annexation area, there are 3 property owners. The petitioner is Maverick, they own 4.76 acres. CDOT, who because of language found in Colorado revised statutes, declined from being a petitioner and signee on the annexation. So CDOT doesn't want to be involved. They won't go against them. They just want to be involved. They just want to be in the loop, basically. So we've been running everything, working with CDOT on that. And as well as the final one is Warren and Patricia McDonald. They own 0.0 acres. It's just a really small piece right next to Maverick. The city's talked to Mr. McDonald. He's agreed to be a signee on the annexation plat. That kind of helps clean that up. There doesn't have to be an enclave or anything like that. But he didn't want to be on the annexation petition. He's a minority in the petition, so it doesn't quite matter. So, as I said, he's good with everything. He just didn't want to have to go through all that paperwork. The annexation includes the portions of County Road 32.4. That's from I-25 exit to County Road 71.1. So if we all can be picturing, we're going towards the rest area. The rest area is on the left if you're getting off the highway, and the Maverick's going to be on the right. We're going to be annexing that piece of road. It's County Road 32.4, as well as County Road 71.1 for the frontage of the Maverick. So just in front of the Maverick's portion there. So on the annexation plat, you can kind of see it is quite a bit of right of way. It's actually more right of way than anything else, actually. The development meets contiguity requirements, all submittals, or they've submitted everything that is required for the annexation. The proposed zoning is community commercial. And then, like I said, as I said, the building is being built. So Maverick went through Los Angeles County, got a special use permit, I believe is what they do. That's for the construction, all the road and infrastructure. There's going to be road improvements, as well as the building itself. So the city's been in contact with Los Angeles County, working together. Fortunately for us, we use the same third-party reviewer, and they're on the same building code. So everything's being built to city standards, even though it's got a special use permit through the county. Besides that, it's, like I said, Matt and Greg are online if you have any questions or any questions I can answer.
Go with you, Mr. Williamson.
Going back to what we've seen before, I mean, nothing's changed since the initial.
No, I'm happy you can remember from May 2024 because I can't.
Well,
It's been a while.
Nothing stands out.
It's the same development. There's been no major changes. No.
The construction's proceeding as planned, and now this is both ends holding up their side of a previous agreement.
That's correct. Yes.
I have no further questions. I would like to thank Maverick for their investment in our community, and it's heartening to see.
Mr. Thurman?
No questions, but I do thank Maverick for coming to Trinidad and taking their shot at the fuel game.
Mr. Trujillo?
I really don't have anything. It's just a great thank you, and this is a great addition to our catalog, and I think it's really going to help our city out by having this out there and creating some really, really much needed revenue.
No, I have no questions.
I I had a couple. I remember when Loves came and they were talking about their plans. One of the things that they noted is that they were going to need a variance on the size on the height of their sign. Is Maverick expecting that it's also going to need that?
I haven't reviewed their sign, so that'll be something that we could definitely take a look at and see if we do have to get approval for that. But since we're going to be taking it, it'll probably just be a non-conforming if it is outside. Now, Loves did it because they're kind of sitting in a hole. You know, Maverick sits kind of up above, so I don't know if they really need that extra footage that Loves really did. So.
Yeah, I think the idea was they wanted people to have enough awareness in advance
and
that you need to get off here to get on that.
That's definitely for sure. That was
I go to Mavericks in Pueblo and other places around the state. I really like the company. One thing that I like in particular is the artwork that they choose inside that highlights the area where they are, and I'm hoping that Maverick is going to focus on Trinidad and Fisher's Peak and the artwork that they put in the building.
I can't say specifically of the local landmarks that our marketing team chose, but they do send out photographers to take pictures for the graphics we use inside the store, and we keep it local. So I'm sure that'll come up. I just don't have the names of the landmarks or parks that we're using for this particular store.
I just really like that. I think it speaks highly of the company's commitment to the community that it's entering, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what you do.
Thank you. We're excited to be a part of your community.
Thank you. That's what I have.
I have no questions. Does the Planning and Zoning Commission have any questions?
I have a question. So when you annex the road, so that means the city now is going to be responsible for maintaining the road from the freeway back to the Maverick?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
But we'll start off with a good road, or
yes,
I mean, they'll start off with.
The plans call for, and Greg might be able to speak to it as well, but I believe the plans call for they're going to repave County Road 32.4, and then I believe 71.1 gets concrete. Is that correct, Greg? Yeah, so 71.1 gets concrete, which is going to be very, it was previously concrete, and now I think it's kind of a mix out there right now, but yeah, so they're going to have, I think that was per their CDOT, or even Los Angeles County required them to really fully redo the entire entranceway.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Item 4 is petitions or communications, oral or written. Just want to remind you that there's a time limit of 5 minutes on this segment of the agenda. Please don't expect that staff will answer your questions or concerns tonight, but we'll get to that. So, Mr. and Mrs. Harrington, are you want to speak separately? Yes, ma'am.
Separately, please. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Come on down, Mr. Harrington. You want to talk about resolution?
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Thank you, City Council. Thank you, City and friends and neighbors that are here with us today. I came to introduce a resolution honoring our greatest generation. And when I say our, I mean America. Many millions of Americans went to fight in the European theater during World War II because of the Nazi scourge. The atrocities of the Nazis has been very well documented. I'm sure everyone is aware and have heard many stories of things that occurred during the war by Nazis. Well, my dad and millions of other GIs joined to go fight and kill Nazis. because Nazis are a scourge and they're very un-American, very un-American. And they taught me, and so I just wanted to give a slight reminder of some of the things I was taught. That I was taught that America is the beacon of freedom, a place where people all over the world look for an example of freedom and democracy. And that America is the kind of country that is known as the arsenal of democracy. During World War II, we supplied the world with weapons and many, many ships, tanks, planes, all the things needed to conduct war, to kill Nazis. And my dad and many of your dads or granddads or great-granddads took part in that. And the Nazi salute was always taught to me to be despicable. That the Nazi swastika was something to be shunned. The greatest generation, as far as I know, everybody I went to school. Now, I wasn't lucky enough to be born here, but I got here as quick as I could. But I want y'all to know that where I was taught, people were taught things like, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. That hate speech is not qualified. The Nazi swastika and the Nazi salute is hate speech. It's nothing but hate. It's meant for nothing but fear and intimidation. And I'm here to speak for Americans that sit at home and watch too much TV and worry about the direction we're heading. So I would love for our city council to honor our greatest generation and the sacrifices made by those men and women, the old people, the children. Everyone pitched in so we could rid this world of the Nazi scourge. Well, I think a resolution, not an ordinance, which is a law, but a resolution that states it is unacceptable. It is just plain unacceptable to do the Nazi salute in this city. That in this one city in the USA, that we don't have to have that because it's unacceptable.
1 minute left, sir.
If our country stands for anything, we need to remember, do unto others, that we are your brother's keeper, that we're not the crybabies, that we're the arsenal of democracy and we actually stand for something. So this is one shot to say, I honor my father, my grandfather, whoever it was, that fought in this war or sacrificed for this war to rid us of Nazis. And that's what I'm asking you, to honor the greatest generation. And thank you all very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. Mrs. Harrington.
Good evening to the council and honorable mayor. My name is Paula Harrington. I live at 107 East Frost, and I'm a proud granddaughter of Jack McRae, World War II veteran. So I'm a school teacher, and I realize that people don't read everything you put in front of them. And so I'm going to read it to enter it into the record. Resolution to ban Nazi salute and swastika. Whereas Americans honor our heritage and the greatest generation who fought, sacrificed, suffered, and died to rid the world of any Nazi influence. And whereas our fathers, mothers, grandfathers, grandmothers, and grandfathers, and great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers took part as patriotic Americans to rid the world of the Nazi scourge. And whereas United Americans, Mexican Americans, Native Americans, African Americans, Japanese Americans, Greek Americans, Italian Americans, Polish Americans, Slavic Americans, Jewish Americans, French Americans, and indeed all Americans fought to kill the Nazi movement. And whereas the women and children of America sacrificed flour, meat, gasoline, car tires, fathers, brothers, and sons to support the war against the Nazis. And whereas the U.S. Army invaded and conquered North Africa, Sicily, Italy, Normandy, and others at great loss of life, and for the sole purpose of killing Nazis and freeing the subjugated peoples of Europe and North Africa. And whereas the subjugated peoples of Europe and North Africa were tortured, murdered, worked, and starved to death by the Nazis. And whereas millions of Jews, Poles, Slavs, Russians, Roma, and indeed people everywhere the Nazi flag flew were abused and murdered by Nazis. And whereas the Republican Party-led Conservative Political Action Conference cheered boisterously when Steve Bannon gave the Nazi salute. And whereas the president's man, Elon Musk, who is purging our generals, our CIA and FBI, our Defense Department, and indeed all Americans' protective agencies, gave the Nazi salute at the United States presidential inauguration. And whereas Karl Popper wrote The Open Society and Its Enemies in 1945, amid the destruction, death, and depravity left by Nazi rule, and described the paradox of intolerance, which said that if intolerant ideologies are permitted to flourish unchecked in an open society, they could exploit the society's values and destroy tolerance itself. In other words, tolerance cannot be extended to authoritarian or intolerant ideals without dire risk to society. Therefore, let it be resolved that anyone in Trinidad, whether they be the richest man in the world or the poorest, including elected officials, will be doing an unacceptable act if they demonstrate or present the Nazi salute and or swastika in any form. So when we called about this, the city clerk expressed concerns that this resolution restricts free speech. First of all, this isn't an ordinance, it's a resolution. Second, this body regularly restricts free speech. It has to. I can only speak for 5 minutes. If I use certain words, N-word, B-word, in this august body, I would be rightly and quickly shown the door. Unfortunately, due to recent events, it's time to also take that kind of stand against Nazi hate speech. We cannot tolerate the intolerable.
1 minute left, ma'am.
We cannot let it in the door, or it will destroy this community, state, and country. Everything you're trying to build in Trinidad, a place where people want to visit and maybe want to move to, will be destroyed. Protect what we all hold dear, a community where everyone is valued and everyone can thrive. Don't tolerate the intolerable. The Nazi salute and swastika are nothing but hate speech meant to intimidate and incite fear. This is for my grandfather who fought the Nazis, and I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Phil Rico wants to talk about tourism and roads.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It too, yeah. Didn't take me very long.
Mayor Grego, members of City Council, Mr. Valentine, and you too. Can I have 5 minutes and 20 seconds?
Yes.
Anyway, I'm here to talk about tourism. And you know, tourism seems to be an ongoing issue within City Council and the Tourism Board. It seems to be an ongoing problem. And this ongoing problem was there when I was sitting in your position there. Still has not been resolved. And I don't think it's that difficult to resolve. But one of the things that has happened is that this last year in 2A that was passed, to add that other 3% to the tourism coffers that would come in. I think that's really important. It could be a major game changer to our community. You know, we talked about when I was part of council that recreation and tourism would be a real major factor in reestablishing this community and bringing more investment into this community. There's investment going on right now, as we heard tonight. But I think more can come if we adopt and really give this some serious consideration. I know that the council adopted, I think, $800,000 in this last budget. Be careful of what you use all that money for. I think the biggest thing that you need to do to resolve some of the ongoing issue is to hire a qualified and experienced director. Number one, that's one thing that we talked about when I was in that seat. And I think that's the number one thing that I think that you guys need to do, is hire that qualified and experienced director so that they can bring forth and have the work real closely with the tourism board to allocate that money properly. So it's something that I believe that it needs to be done if we're going to change this community and attract more tourism and more recreation in this community. And Mr. Williamson was very big on the recreational aspect of this, and I think that, like I said, this 3% could be a major game changer for our community. So we need to really be careful how we utilize that money, use it properly, and use it at the right time. Do not expend more money than necessary this year. Plan on it. Plan on taking maybe $100,000, $150,000, planning on that for next year for some major events. Because major events is what's going to bring additional people and money into the community and to pay for what we're trying to do. So that being said, I'm going to keep it very simple with that. The other thing I was going to mention to you are the roads. Pinion Terrace on the upper end is a disaster. There have been many cuts into the roads that have been for utilities, and they've not been filled in, so I recommend that you make sure that you go up there and take a look around, just ride through there and see how bad that upper portion is. And even the lower portion that doesn't have as much damage. It would be a good idea if you could chip seal that before it really starts to deteriorate, and then you have to replace the whole thing. So be careful with because I think the people up there, they pay some of the highest taxes in the community. They're going to be concerned about that. The third thing I wanted to mention, this is my final one, the Opera House. The Opera House is a liability and a concern, not only to City Council, but to the property owner. I think it's time that you guys put the screws to, pardon the French, to the owner of that property. Give them 90 days to come up with a plan, anywhere from 6 months to 9 months to come up with funding. And if they cannot come up with funding, then I recommend that you press them to destroy it. We don't want to see it destroyed, but we cannot go on, because all we need is another earthquake like we had back in whenever it was, and that's what caused some of that problem to begin with.
1 minute left.
Okay, if we have that problem again, like I said, it's going to be a huge liability, not only to the owner, but also to the city, because we have not done and pressed that issue. So thank you for listening to me today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Rossetti wants to talk about work session.
Evening, Mayor, Council. I was at the work session last week, and we discussed small purchases by the city manager. And I think everybody didn't understand one word in that sentence, small. Because the dilemma here is $100,000, which the city manager could spend. And one gentleman got cut off in the middle of what he was trying to say, but after that meeting, I started thinking, so the next morning I woke up. I called Salida, Los Animas, La Junta, Alamosa, Walsenburg, Canyon City, and Lamar. I asked them, what's the budget, or how much can your city manager spend without going to council? Lamar, La Junta, their city manager can't spend nothing unless it's budgeted in their budget. If they want to buy something for $100 that's not in the budgeted, they got to go to council. Alamosa and Walsenburg is $5,000. Both of them stated that's not enough. That doesn't even buy the chemicals for the sewer plant or the water. They're both talking about raising it to $10,000. Canyon City, $6,500. Let's see, Los Animas is $10,000. The last one is Salida, which, I don't know, ever since I heard Trinidad wants to be like Salida. Salida has this, Salida has that, we gotta be like Salida. Salida is $20,000. They also have a deal, if it's an emergency, which you all discussed, it's $50,000. Could spend up to $50,000. Once he spends that $50,000, he gets on, he sends the email to the mayor, all the council, what it was for and what it was used for. So it was transparent. And that's brought up at the next meeting to let the people know what's going on. I don't understand it. When I started here working 30 years ago for the city, it was $5,000. And I remember I went with the councilman to Pueblo. We looked at some state trucks, used, real used, didn't even have a transmission in it. But was like $7,000. And the councilman called up the secretary, city manager's secretary, said, write a check. She said, we can't, it has to go to be approved by council, anything over 5,000. He said, don't worry, we'll get it approved Tuesday to send the check today. So this has been happening for 30 years. You know, and this all started because of the bike trails at the Olson property. Your CFO was up here last week saying didn't know anything about what was going on, and if they knew, they would have stopped it. Well, let me tell you, I was at a work session where you were all sent down here, you weren't sitting up there. And they were discussing that, and she said about $220,000 used for bicycle trails. In that meeting, the city manager stated, Mr. Valentine, that yes, it was not brought to council because we broke the payments up into 3 phases. So it wouldn't be over 100,000 and stretched it over 3 years. I knew that was illegal, so I had requested the contract. Once that happened, I guess that's when the crap hit the fan and everybody started saying, we didn't know this, we didn't know that.
1 minute left, sir.
Let me tell you, they all knew about it. It's been happening for years. So I'm just here to let you know that I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Couple other things just for the record. Central Park still not completed, 201 days, $150,750 in liquidated damages. Also, if you're heading east on Main Street and you're in the turn lane and you get the turn arrow, well, a pedestrian walking east, the walk sign comes on. That's against the law also. You cannot have a walk sign and a turn arrow on at the same time. I know you put a pedestrian, have the right of way, yield to pedestrian, that's a federal law. Whenever you're in a crosswalk, you gotta yield to a pedestrian. So the sign isn't up there. So just to make you all know, that's illegal what's happening on Main and Commercial, and you are doing something tonight about the crosswalk signs up there. So hopefully that will get straightened out also. Thank you.
Item 5, council reports. Mr. Williamson?
I wasn't expecting to go first, Mayor, but
Well, you want me to switch?
your choice. I can if you wish.
Yeah. Be a brave guy and just go for it.
All right. Mayor, I only have one item to report. I was intending on it being rather lengthy.
You can.
What's that?
You can be as lengthy as you want.
But with what we've already experienced in the meeting, I'm going to just summarize it for the just for the sake of brevity. So I'm going to submit. This is nothing controversial. I think it's really straightforward and needed. I'm submitting a council action report, and I've garnered 3 other signatures with it. The title of it is to increase public safety of parks, streets, and public spaces. I'm requesting an agenda item, hopefully on March 17th. And the line reads, does the subject concern a department? If so, please include the name. It may include others, but I think at a minimum it will include the city manager, police chief, code enforcement, and fire department. And then I have 2 attachments. because I couldn't fit all of the writing into here easily. I acknowledge that, so there's 3 items that I'm requesting for the March 18th agenda. One of them may not be feasible. It's item 1, request executive session per chapter 5, part 5.17, specifically conferences with the city attorney. You guys know the rest of the verbiage. The second item, to request discussion and voting to direct the city manager, to direct the police chief to enforce Trinidad municipal codes that we already have on the books in general, but specifically the ones that on this attachment, focusing on commercial street, main street, parks, trails, and public space within city limits. The third item would be for a discussion and vote on addition of code language for controlling use of parks by groups of people monopolizing city parks for extended periods of time. I had intended to read all of these, but I think it would really be labor the point. But I mean, I would just want to make this point because it's not controversial in any sense of the word. So there's section 4.2, cruelty to animals. If you read this, I think I have personally seen violations of this in that area, and I think they should be addressed. Animals running at large. So there's one inspection of buildings of other premises to order and abate. The fire department personnel shall find any building upon premises other place combust. I'm sorry, that is not the portion I was intending to read. There's ordinance in here that says that we need to patrol basically for items that might cause fires and remediate those regularly. Section 13.2, public parks, property and trails, hours closed. It shall be unlawful for any person to be within the bounds of any public park, public property, public trail between the hours of 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. except as authorized by Ordinance 2002, Section 13.2, repealed and reenacted for 1916. I'm going to skip this page. I just want to point out that I think this is straightforward and makes sense. Graffiti, enforcing graffiti, injuring, defacing private property, injuring, defacing, destroying public property, trespassing public or private property, theft. I'm going to skip these pages. Thank you for your patience. I wanted to point out it's not controversial in any sense of the word. It shall be unlawful for a person to appear in public place in state of nudity or make indecent exposure of his or her person or be guilty of any lewd, indecent act or behavior. I was going to present very carefully some pictures of my walk up and down the trail where these acts are openly being violated. It's unlawful for a person to urinate in a public way, place, or which public in nature or any place within city open to view. Substance abuse, I think that's self-explanatory. It's unlawful, and it goes on, for animal or human excrement, garbage, refuse, or filth to be deposited, buried, or allowed to accumulate in any premises owned or kept, to bury or allow accumulate such offensive substance on any sidewalk, alley, premises, vacant lot, or other place within the city. We have that occurring, and then there's many more of these, but I'll just submit the paperwork, and I appreciate your time. Thank you, Mayor.
That's it?
Sorry?
That's all?
That's it.
Mr. Thurman.
I've got a bunch of papers here I wanted to, no, seriously, I think we're having a Parks and Rec, we're trying to put together a meeting for this month on the 18th. On the 18th this month, so if you get time to come out and be a part of that, please come.
Good evening. If I'm trying to catch up with everything that I've been running around with. So we did attend, me and Mayor tag team CML once again on the Legislative Policy Committee. we did that one. I also was able to attend a Zoom meeting for DOLA, and it was under the federal funding freeze and executive orders update. So the update is they're really not sure. There's not much, or they're sure. They know that it's just been frozen. They're calculating lists. We can communicate with CML if we have concerns. Same thing with all the state departments. If anyone has any concerns on their fundings or their grants, reach out to them, and they're individually looking them up to see. So that was that. Also, we do believe, Mr. Valentine, I did ask for an update on the Opera House for a work session on that, didn't I?
Yes, you
did. Yeah, so just for Mr. Rico, that we are working on that, and I appreciate it. Thank you for bringing that up, sir. Thank you, Mr. Valentine.
We had an ARPA meeting and I wasn't able to attend because I had a medical procedure done on my foot, and that doctor's appointments are hard to change. But there really isn't a lot. I do have the meeting, and Linda did attend. And if anybody has any questions, we had an update on our solar farm, which Rick had brought to us before. And there's a couple items in May that they got to discuss that might concern us, but we won't be able to, they won't be put into effect until August, but they were still working on that. So if anybody wants any more information or anything, I have the pamphlet and booklet here of the meeting and that. Other than that, that's it.
Mr. DeBono.
From the Los Animas County Veterans Council, the first annual military ball is going to take place at the Mount Carmel Wellness and Community Center this Saturday night from 6 to 11 p.m. Tickets are $25, 2 for $50. And if you have any questions, you can phone David Sampson at the Mount Carmel Community Wellness Center. That's all I have.
I love how Mr. DeBono does that like he does at work. I have 3 meetings coming up next week, but there hasn't been anything since our last meeting, so nothing to report.
And as Mr. Trigo mentioned, we had a CML meeting. It was virtual. Nobody was in attendance up in Denver, and it was a good thing because it snowed like crazy. But it's pretty much a repeat of what we had talked about the month before, talking about just small, there's so much legislation going on now because they're in session. So it wasn't anything that I felt was big enough to report on. Also, on the 6th of this month, which is Thursday, I got an email, and I think all of council got an email. Senator Hickenlooper is doing a Zoom meeting regarding what he expects for our state with all the changes going on in Washington. So if anybody would like that link, I got it on an email. I'm going to watch it and see, because I'm very much concerned about what cutbacks the federal government is going to do to some of the programs that we depend on here in Trinidad. One of them is the HUD and the Trinidad housing specifically. So I'm an acting board member now, because they have not, the new board hasn't been seated yet, but they're talking about drastic changes to their budget starting in April. So if anybody would like that link, please let me know and I'll forward the email to you. I need to ask a question of council. I got a call from Mr. Rico, former Mayor Rico, regarding the legislative update seminars, their meeting that we had in conjunction with the county. So if any of you don't remember that, I think you started that, didn't you, Phil? Yes. Okay, so we have a joint meeting with the county and the city. We used to invite state legislators and even Senator Hickenlooper and Senator Bennett's representatives would come to Trinidad and tell us, give us updates on what's going on in Washington. Last year, it wasn't held. This year, it was the county's turn, and they couldn't do it. So I got a call from Mr. Rico, as I said, saying that the Chamber of Commerce is willing to do that for us. That they would do the footwork and they would sponsor it. But before I said yes, I need council's approval to allow them to take over that meeting. So if anybody has objections, speak now or no?
I had a question. Did you or former Mayor Rico have any concerns about them handling that?
No, it's just logistics is what it is.
As a point of order, can we do this under?
No, you need to tell me, not right now. I mean, just let me know if you have any objections, and if you do, I'll express them to Mr. Howlett and we'll go from there. I'm not asking for a vote. I just need to know if you have any objections. Okay. That's it. Item 6, consent agenda approval. 6A, approval of the regular meeting minutes of February 18, 2025, and special meeting minutes of February 24, 2025. Item 6B, approval of bills amount totaling $1,165,038.85. Item 6C, approval of payroll from February 15, 2025 through February 28, 2025. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Ogletree moved, Shu seconded. Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trujillo?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Item 7A, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance amending the city's rates for sewer service. The hearing is now open.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So before you is the final hoop with our rate ordinances. Tonight before you is the sewer consideration approval to modify and increase the commercial sewer rate utilities. The percentage is 7%. I believe in your packets that I included the information of what the current is and what the proposed is. Just to reiterate, we had everything done through Waterworth, so budget revenues and expenses have been projected into 2046 and or 2047, sorry about that, for each of the utilities, more specifically for sewer. The increase, again, is based on the water meter size, since sewer is based on water consumption. So roughly differences, what we're looking at in city and outside of the city limits. I'll just talk a little bit about that. 3/4 inch all the way up to 8-inch water meter size, we're looking at $2.70 up to $102.29. Outside the city limits, again, 3/4 inch up to an 8-inch meter, we're looking at $3.68 up to $203.35. I believe I'll just kind of leave it up. Does anybody have any questions? I feel like we've been going through this.
What are those? She said we have any questions, so I asked. What's the difference? What, we start here or over there? What's the difference?
Mr. Williamson.
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, I don't have any questions, after reviewing it
in order to remain solvent and ready for upcoming challenges. It's something that we have to do. I will say, you know, in speaking of it, it would be very outside of the norm for residents to be anywhere past 1 inch, right? So that's
Correct.
again, while it is, you know, money is absolutely money, it's not an exorbitant amount of money, and I definitely would be cognizant that, you know, that change can affect some people on a fixed income. That's understandable. But again, as we review this, we have to do what's right for the entire rate-paying base, and this will do that. I will say, now that we have the water worth, our intention is to not see large spikes going into the future, right?
That is correct.
Our plan is to make very controlled and intentional adjustments going forward.
That is correct.
I have no further questions, Mark.
Mr. Thurman?
No questions.
Mr. Trujillo?
Just for clarity, we don't meter the sewer, right?
No, we do not. Everything is based off your water meter and your water consumption.
So when we go to the 7,500 gallons, right, we're allowed?
Correct.
Yeah, so then 7,500, once we pass that, that's when our sewer rate also alters as well?
Yes, that is correct. Sewer is a little bit different, but above the monthly minimum for a 3/4 inch, we're looking at 29 cents.
Okay, so 29 cents increase, so yeah.
And again, that's per thousand.
Okay, and the base rate increase is $2.70 for the minimum, right?
The base rate right now is $38.50 for a 3/4 inch inside the city limits.
I meant I left the word off, I'm sorry, increase, the base rate increase is $2.70.
Yes,
Whatever.
yes,
Thank you.
yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I left that out.
Misunderstood that one.
It was said in my head and then it never came out the other way.
It's okay.
So, thank you, that was the only question I had.
Okay.
I just, Aaron and Maddie answered my questions. We just wanted to clarify to everyone what the change in price was and stuff like that.
That is correct. That is correct.
Mr.
Linda, when and what was the last percentage of increase?
For sewer, when we did the water and sewer back in 23, I believe, it was a 40% increase. Water went up 50%, sewer went up 40%, and that was across the board. That was both residential and commercial. Mhm. We are just increasing commercial at this time.
Okay.
Just commercial?
Commercial only.
Okay.
And so what we did in 2023, we are not affecting the residential rates, is what you're saying then?
That is correct.
Okay.
No effect to the residential rate.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So when we had the last summary, I guess, of our increases, whoever that one company was that we had, they didn't factor in what it would cost us to keep up with our infrastructure. Is that what I'm thinking, or?
So what we did is when we went through the software, we're basically looking at taking all our information, audits, budgets. I think we started in 21 with all the information, moving forward all the way to 2046. And so just based on that, and then we projected, we had, I don't know if you remember in the list, we had basically it's called a CIP list that we had for capital projects. And so we put those projects in there. So if you remember on the graph from the sewer department, we had, I actually have a picture of it, so I apologize, but we had the green spike here would show expenditures, and then this. So we are just, again, trying to be proactive rather than reactive. So that is the intent.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience to speak for or against the ordinance?
Now, I know that there's always concern whenever rate increases like this come around and people are wondering what's happening to us and why is it costing us. I mean, one thing that you guys may want to try to do is maybe publish it somehow and do some comps and publish them to see exactly where the city of Trinidad sits and compare the high and the low. And that way, people can be kind of rest assured that you guys are doing a good job, at least trying to keep it within this.
I think we did that, didn't we, Linda?
We did.
You did?
I don't have that information
That's
with me,
fine.
but we did do that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Hearing is now closed. Second reading of an ordinance amending the city's rates for sewer service. Need a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Shu moved, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Trujillo seconded, call the vote, please.
Williamson,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
sorry, Trujillo,
Yes.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item 8, unfinished business, we have none. Item 9A, first reading of an ordinance granting local landmarking designation to the property described as the original town site, Block 66 West, 145.5 feet of left of Lot 2, original town site, Block 66 West, 136 feet off north half of Lot 3, City of Trinidad, Los Animas County, Colorado, and setting a public hearing on April 1st, 2025 at 6 p.m. For those of us who can't read legal descriptions, it's 308 Chestnut Street, which would be that beautiful blonde house that used to be Ken Tapia's hair salon. Okay. I need someone to introduce.
I'll introduce.
Ms. Ogletree introduces. I need a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Williamson, is there a second?
Second.
Is that you, Mr. DeBono?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Call the vote, please.
Thurman,
Yes.
Trujillo,
Yes.
Shu,
Oh, yes.
DeBono,
Yes.
Ogletree.
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item 9B, consideration of the request for bids submitted by Martin Electric Incorporated for the Trinidad Pedestrian Signal Upgrades Project.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council.
Can you introduce yourself for the record?
Robert Just, Public Works. Thank you. Okay. Bring enough for us. I come before you tonight to, we received one bid, consideration of request submitted by Morton Electric for the Trinidad Pedestrian Signal Upgrade Project. What I handed out was a project cost breakdown because it's a little confusing. I noticed it last time when we have a grant, so I just wanted to explain to you how the funding and the project costs went. So the project funding, we had a $100,000 grant. Basically, it was $70,000 from CDOT. The city had to match 30 of that, so that's the 100. And then back in October of last year, we came before you to get an overmatch of $85,000 after the engineer had done a cost estimate. So basically, total project funds we have $185,000, which $115,000 is city, $70,000 is CDOT through the grant. Project cost, the design consultant fee was $51,750. And the construction cost, which Martin Electric submitted in the bid, was $126,200.34. So total construction cost was $177,950.34. If we subtract the total construction cost from the total project funds, it leaves us about $7,049.66 of contingency for the construction project. Any questions?
Ms. Ogletree?
Does $7,049.66 sound like a reasonable contingency?
We hope so. I think the engineer's done a good job, the plans. You just don't know in a city as old as Trinidad what you're gonna hit when you, so I think for the most part, when we did those intersections, those curb ramps, we put in some conduit. So I think our cost is gonna be minimized there because we already got the conduit in place. So it's very little digging, yeah, but this is a project that's been going on since my predecessor, Tom Beach, had it. So it's been going on for some time.
So the idea is putting in the beeping things, is that what this is about?
Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly. It's audible, so if somebody, visually they're impaired, it talks to them,
Okay.
tells them when to cross. So, and it's also visual as well. For somebody that can't hear, they can look at it. It gives you, I think they flash the time, 10, 9, 8. You probably have seen it in other cities.
Okay, that's wonderful, thank you.
You bet.
Eli?
Bobby, was Morton Electric the only?
Morton was the only bid. We submitted bids, and they were the only one that we received a bid from.
Pretty reputable?
As far as we know, yes, they're out of Pueblo. It's a good firm.
I have one question, when is the project gonna start, and what's the time limit on getting it done and stuff? Is it gonna tie up some of the traffic lanes and stuff?
No, it shouldn't. Most of the work is done to the, off to the side where on the existing poles that are out there so they're putting a small, where they don't have the push buttons on the poles. I think at the Oak and Main, they have to do a mounted, so if somebody rolls up in a wheelchair, they hit the button and it sets it. So, as far as I know, CDOT, they have a few forms that we gotta get filled out to get the project rolling, and we're ready to go. Don Skanga has sent us all of his information, so we're in the process of filling that out, so.
Mr. Trujillo?
I don't have any questions, they've already been answered, thank you.
You bet.
Thanks, Bob, for all your due diligence, appreciate it.
Mr. Just, I should know the answer to this, I apologize. Just really briefly, not in detail, can you kind of remind me why this project took so long? What were the hurdles?
My experience with CDOT grants, there's nothing easy about them.
Right.
We're experiencing the same thing on the pedestrian trail, the walk trail. It's just not easy. One of the things that delayed the project is that we pulled it from the project was Animus in Maine. We needed approximately a 2-foot area of the private lot. The engineer came back and wanted $19,000 to do the additional easement. We could have done the easement in-house. We have a surveyor on staff. I went to you guys back, I don't remember, I don't have that date, but basically asked you guys, can we remove that intersection from the project, because our Main Street project, which we do now have shovel-ready plans to try and secure a grant, will cover that intersection. So this particular project obviously has commercial in Maine. Next one down, Chestnut in Maine, and then Oak in Maine are the 3-lighted intersections it covers.
I appreciate that, and I want to be clear, I wasn't calling the project into question. Sitting on the TPR through South Central Council of Governments, those discussions, I mean, it is unbelievable the delay that's just, I mean, it's bureaucratic red tape, to state it plainly. So I was just wondering if it was entirely that, or sourcing, or funding, I'm sorry, finding the material, anything like that. That was my...
Right. Our experience, particularly this, I know Mr. Beach thought he could get the money and go forward, and we found out we needed to go out to a consultant to design it. So and it was time for them, in that process going back and forth, we had to advertise for a consultant. We only got one bid on that, so it just all adds up, unfortunately. But
thank you for the diligence. No questions.
I have no questions, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, Williamson, moved, is there a second?
Second.
Trujillo seconded, you guys are on it.
Guys, rats.
Yeah.
Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trahell?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Item C, resolution of the City Council of the City of Trinidad, Colorado, setting a hearing date for the annexation petition for the Maverick North annexation on April 15, 2025 at 6 p.m. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Shu moved.
Second?
Ogletree seconded. Call the vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Trahell?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Item 9D, selection of city manager finalists for whom to offer employment and instructing city attorney to negotiate an employment contract. I think it would behoove us, for me to give you a little background about this process, because sometimes people think that this council, or any council for that matter, makes these decisions on the fly. But this process has been going on for at least 6 months, correct? Close to 6 months. So to say we did our due diligence is correct. So I'm going to just do a background, just a little bit of to remind people what the process was. So at first we had to do a request for proposals for a recruitment company. That took several weeks, if not a month or more. At that time, we accepted the proposal from SGR, which is an acronym for Strategic Government Resources. That company, we accepted their bid. That company was represented to council by Mr. Larry Gilly, who is the vice president of the company, one of the vice presidents of the company. After our human resources department sent out requests for applications, our first round of applicants totaled 34 people. Then Mr. Gilly vetted those people. To remind you that this job application was on certain web-based programs like Indeed. So Mr. Gilly vetted the first round of 34. After he wanted to make, there were some people that applied after the deadline, some people that didn't, the applicants that didn't have the correct credentials for the job. So that we dropped 34 to the second round, which was 15 to 17. I can't remember exactly, but it was close to that. So council got together and we looked at them and decided which ones we wanted to continue forward vetting. So on the second round, that 15 to 17 dropped to 12. Then we got some more information from SGR. We had like web-based interviews with these people. They were all asked a specific question and were answered via internet interview. So that after that third round, we went to 5. We picked 5 finalists. And I will have to say, any one of those 5 finalists could have done a great job for Trinidad. We are truly blessed to have the people, the caliber that we had apply for this job. I mean, I was really impressed with all 5 of them yesterday. So yesterday, if we're looking kind of off our game tonight, it's because we were here from 8 o'clock yesterday morning to 5 o'clock last night, determining who's the best fit for the job of city manager. As I stated again, any 5 of them we would have been very fortunate to get to be our new city manager. They were interviewed. We had hour-long interviews here in council chambers with each one of the 5 finalists. They all came here. 3 of them were from out of town. They were interviewed by city council and then interviewed by a community panel of community leaders, people that have experience interviewing people for jobs such as our city manager. So I took the time to mention that to you because it was a very hard task for us. And I'm not saying that because I want sympathy. We wanted to do the best we possibly could for the city of Trinidad. That's why you entrust us to sit here. And I think I wanted to thank staff. They did really good, took really good care of us yesterday. They were feeding us cookies and sugar and, we were very well taken care of, as was the community panel. Thank you to Mr. Downs, sir, for sitting with us for 8 hours. You deserve compensation for that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm sure council appreciates it.
Thank you.
And I always appreciate the advice that you give us.
Thank you so
You're
much.
always spot on, Mr. Downs, and I
Thank you,
want to
ma'am.
thank you.
Thank you.
That being said, I want to ask for a nomination for the city manager finalist, who we are going to offer employment to.
Mayor, I'd nominate for the city manager finalist, Tara Marshall.
Is there a second?
Second.
Aaron? Second.
And Councilman Fallon said, okay, thank you, sorry.
And Councilman Williamson, so we have the Aaron's. Call the vote, please.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Wait,
recuse myself.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Same.
Thank you.
Trahell,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes, thank you to everyone who participated in that. Item 10, reports by city manager and city attorney. Wipe that smile off your face. Stay with us for a little while, okay?
All right. So I just wanted to report there in your packet for your information. I signed a letter of support for peer support co-responder. I was contacted by Colonel Simpleman, who is here. Keep Trinidad Safe, TCF was requesting go forward with the grant application for peer support co-responder for the PD for 1.5 full-time employees. One would be for Trinidad, the other possibly be for Los Animas County. It's a $200,000 grant. everything will be run through TCF, through their existing Foundation City Restricted Funds account, and they would report to us probably quarterly on how that's going and how those funds, should they be successful. And if you have questions, I'm glad Mr. Simpleman is here. But it's a good thing. It's for drug interdiction type. We have the co-responder for mental health. Well, this one's for more geared toward drugs. So. And just to let you know that the application process for police chief closed yesterday, and we had 18 applicants, and we'll be starting that process. Of course, that's a city manager hire. I'm hoping that the timing be that myself and should everything be successful, the new city manager would be able to interview and select the police chief.
How much does council get? We don't get involved, but how much will you give us an update on it?
Yes, definitely. But it is, per the charter, council doesn't get involved with that, but definitely updates.
Okay,
Yep.
Thank you.
You bet. That's all I have, unless there's
All right.
questions.
Mr. Downs?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. So first of all, I want to say, I will get back to the Harringtons. I will report at our next regular meeting on my thoughts on that, so they know our policy is we don't respond right away. When we have people speak at petitions and communications, we respond at the next meeting. Next, I wanted to say to Councilman Williamson, you gave us a lot here, and I will be reaching out for clarification. I just want to say that. I heard everything you said, but I just want to let you know that I'll be reaching out.
Thank you, Les.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I guess the last thing I want to say, not I guess, I want to just comment on the process yesterday. And I want to say it was a very good process. It was a very thorough process. I would like to say that council is to be commended as well for those of you that were here and you took the time to read the voluminous information and took the time yesterday to be here all day and to do what you did and come to the decision you did. I want to congratulate the finalists. As you said, Mayor, they were all wonderful and all deserving of the job. It was hard. I mean, it was very difficult. And I know it was difficult for council, and I don't want anyone to think that it wasn't a very difficult decision, but it was a very deliberate and a very lengthy and considered process. And again, I think you're all to be commended. I would also like to say that I think the citizen panel really also should be commended. And
Yes.
I know you said that, but just so we're clear, Brett Plant, Kim Lucero, Colonel Lou Simpleman, Dr. Rhonda Epper, and Tom Perry, they also took a day out from their very busy lives and did this and consulted and collaborated with you after they interviewed all of the wonderful finalists. So I just want to say that, congratulations to Ms. Marshall. It will be very nice to work with her and have her as the city manager. It's, my job to respect council's decision and to support you in what you do. And I do. And that is all I have, Mayor and members of council.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I hope I didn't omit the community panel. I didn't mean to. If I did. You guys were hanging in there just like the professionals.
It's always easy to bat cleanup,
Well, I'm good at that. Okay, there being no more business before council, the next item is 11, adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Call the vote, please.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu, Thurman,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Ogletree. Yes. Williamson,
Yes.
Creedle.
Yes, good night, everybody. Good night.